Greetings. I'm sorry I can't be with you in Turin. The future of work starts now. We have enormous challenges. We have, of course, the challenge of technology. This is not a new challenge. We have been integrating technology into our workplaces for generations. It is more rapid, and that will be increasingly the case, and it's more far-reaching in its implications. But generally, the demands for unions are the same. How do you integrate technology? How do you upskill workers? How do you raise wages with collective bargaining to meet the value of those skills? And then, of course, the resulting consequences of any displacement of labour. How do you support workers in what is a just transition to ensure that they have jobs? The overall question is, of course, where do we get jobs from? And in large part, at least for the forthcoming decade or two, the challenge of the green economy, which is of course just as central to the future of work, will generate jobs if we get the investment in industry policy, in technology, in the development, whether it's infrastructure or indeed new areas of manufacturing or services or construction, indeed supporting agriculture in terms of clean and green food, and of course energy, water, waste. Energy underpins all of this, and the transition from renewable energy from fossil fuels is indeed critical. In terms of the climate demands, we have all of the actors in the union family. We have the climate warriors. They've done a fantastic job with our union movement and the support of allies in civil society. We fought and won the concept of a just transition in the Paris Agreement. We also know that, of course, we have the workers in new energy, and we're organising those as proud members of trade unions all around the world. We then have workers in fossil fuels. They brought us the prosperity of today. We demand respect for them and a just transition which sees their jobs secured for the future through skills and redeployment. Also, of course, where workers are retiring, that their pensions are secure. But we also demand investment in renewable energy, but also other industries in those communities. Community renewal is fundamental. The ITUC will leave nobody behind. We will not see stranded workers or indeed stranded communities. These things, of course, go together, and last year we saw the leaders of the world take two critical decisions. One was the Sustainable Development Goals, and now called Agenda 30. That paves a way to a zero poverty world if we get it right. With the Paris Climate Agreement, it paves the way to a zero carbon world. Zero poverty, zero carbon, that equals our aspirations for social justice. But the world is in trouble. When you look at a workforce that 60% of whom are in formal employment, but the majority in short-term or precarious work, indeed often in unsafe work, and certainly through our major supply chains on poverty wages. Increasingly, of course, that's complemented by a growing informal economy, the sector of desperation, where workers have no rights, no minimum wages, no social protection on which they can depend. And yet we're seeing informal work, even modern slavery, emerge in our supply chains. And with 45 million of our brothers and sisters in modern slavery, there's something very wrong with the world of work. So the future of work must be decent work. It must be based on fundamental rights and principles. It must be underpinned by social protection, the social protection floor, which includes those vital services. It must also, of course, have a minimum wage on which you can live with dignity, can raise your family with optimism and hope, and collective bargaining must continue to be strengthened in order to make sure that productivity and skills are rewarded and, of course, shared fairly throughout the working world. High levels of inequality are now a global risk. High levels of unemployment, are a global risk and a social risk, and we need to act. So the future of work is about how we deal with technology. It is about how we create a zero carbon world, but it is also about where will the jobs come from and will they be decent jobs, decent work. Your discussions are all critical to the actual mission of the ITUC, to the working people's aspirations around the world for decent work. In the Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 8, of course complemented by Goal 5 for women, by other goals around poverty, Goal 1, or sustainability, or an end to poverty, all of those things are critical. But Goal 8 is decent work. That's at the core of our aspirations. It's underpinned by the ILO's fundamental rights and principles, and we must fight for it. A zero carbon, zero poverty world, that's the future we want. That's the future of work.